Nau mai, haere mai, e te whānau. Welcome to the Flight of the Next podcast. I'm Holly on Gadigal land in Sydney, as is Danny in Tamaki Makaurau, Auckland. We have Erin. Erin usually has cricket practice on Monday night, so we're able to start early. Erin, do you not have cricket practice today because you were let go from your team for having 2 ducks in the space of like 3 or 4 games?
Probably, but also the season is done for this half of the year, so they gave us a little break, maybe to just reset and try to come back in the new year and actually get some runs for once.
Good stuff, good stuff. We will chat. Let me put it this way. I worked it out that this weekend, so we had the 2 games, men and women, we had 32 shots in total, 12 on target, 1 goal, 4 goals conceded because of inadequate defending, 2 losses. Very disappointing. Let's start with the women. Friday night, so it was good to see Essen was back, and also Lou Leon made her first start. It looked like it was fairly warm. It was 32 degrees. A front 3 of Leon, Samba and Nunn. That crowd might as well have been pro Wellington. The turnout from the Nepali community was really amazing, and you could hear it the whole time. So honestly, we dominated this game again, like we've been dominating games otherwise. 75th minute, Susan Fonson came with an Olympico. It is apparently the second Olympico that Bev Priestman has conceded in Perth. The first one being versus Ireland as the Canada coach in World Cup 2023. So not the greatest deal of luck for her on that count. Really disappointing. But we just, again, absolutely dominated a game and just not getting a win. And this was the most frustrating one. I mean, at least against City, you were playing a quality team whose win streak for the A-League women is really, really long and was only just broken by Canberra. You can sort of see it with City. With Perth, it's disappointing. Danny, would you like to start?
Yeah, I guess so. Look, you just mentioned the front 3 there of Leon, Nunn and Samba, and to be honest, that sounds like a great front 3, right? You put that on paper or seen them play in previous seasons, you think, yeah, they're going to rip this place up. And why they're not scoring, I genuinely don't know. I mean, look, we're creating the chances. They're not super clear-cut chances, but they are chances on the left. We're hitting the bar, we're getting shots on, keepers are saving it, and it's just not going in. And I don't know if we need to change anything or are we just unlucky. We've been unlucky 2 weeks in a row now where we've dominated. We've had far more chances than shots. I don't know if there's something wrong or whether it is just one of those bad luck things. And next week we'll put 4 past someone and we'll go on a winning run. I didn't really see much wrong with how we played. Perfectly honest, as you say, we dominated them. We were the better side. We played some really nice football going forward. We were strong in the tackle, much stronger than they were. And defensively, they didn't really do anything except for the goal. And again, we could be repeating what we said against Melbourne City last week. So it was a tough one. I actually didn't see this live. I actually watched it on delay, and by the time I watched it on delay, I already found out the score, despite my best efforts. So I was sort of aware that we weren't going to score, which made it even more bizarre that we were getting in the position. It's like, well, we've got it. Oh, no, we're not going to score. Oh, no, we didn't score. And then wondering where their goal was going to come from. And then it comes from Olympico, which is, again, that's just user error. No one should score an Olympico. The only way you can do that is if generally the goalkeeper, sometimes depends, but generally the goalkeeper is stuffed up, and that's what happened. And that's such a shame, but it shouldn't have mattered because we should have been 2 or 3 goals ahead. And I haven't heard what Bev Priestman said about the game, whether she's like, okay, yeah, it's just bad luck. We keep doing what we're doing. Trust in the process, the goals will come. I don't see what's going really wrong because I thought we were even probably better in the field this week than we were last week. And as they attacking, we look good. Monera Elliott looks good. Nunn strong. Lucy Leon looked pretty good, and Samba's just a class above everyone else, or seems to be anyway. So really disappointing. I'm not getting too concerned because it seems to be okay on the pitch going forward. It's just that final product of putting the ball in the net.
Yeah, this was an incredibly frustrating game to have to stay up till 2 a.m. to watch. We should have had this game won and done 20 minutes in and should have been able to go to bed peacefully knowing we had it in the bag. But I think it's really telling that Fotmob, their player, or the player of the game, was their goalkeeper, who is an A-League debut for her. I had no idea who she even was. It's like the Elena Santos of Perth. But I was, just absolutely shocked that we couldn't get anything from this game. We had so many chances. We looked like the better team the whole time, and, just it takes an Olympico to beat us, which I guess is kind of telling. They couldn't find goals in any other way except for an Olympico, which I think in the women's league is probably more common just because of the height of the goalkeepers. But still, it's something that, we shouldn't have lost this game. We shouldn't have lost the game the week before. We should be much higher up on the table, especially because we've only conceded 4 goals now this whole time. I think it's the joint lowest, or one of the lowest goals against in this whole league, showing that, we're defending well. We're just not getting the goals. And I don't know why we're not getting the goals, because we should be with what we have up front, but it's just currently not quite getting there. And hopefully it solves itself, and next week we get back into it and we get into some goal scoring form and we start to win the league then. But it needs to happen quickly because the season is short and we'll quickly lose sight of top 6 if we don't start performing soon.
Exactly. And you're right, we do have the best equal defence in the league, having only conceded 4. That's along with City and Sydney FC. So, but yeah, we've only scored 3 goals, which is the worst, along with Adelaide. We're 9th. Look, we've got games in hands on about half of the league. We have games in hand because we've had a bye already. But honestly, we've played 5 rounds, and that's a quarter of the season. It's a quarter of the regular season already. And to be 5th is really disappointing. And again, we can talk about the fact that Alyssa Wynnum is a goal scorer, not the most prolific, but she does know how to score. And then Jale, who knows how to score, has been pushed further back in the pitch. Waiting to see what's going to happen with this January, with the upcoming transfer window. We're really going to depend on that for successfully replacing those 2 injured players. We've had less success than other times. Last season, we didn't have a great deal of success in the mid-season transfer window. Talking about that City loss as well, adding it all up. So that's 2 games we've dominated, City and Perth. 25 shots in total, which is a lot. 6 of them have been on target. No goals. 2 losses. 25 shots, 6 on target, no goals. We need to work on our shooting. We're obviously getting into positions where we're having shots. That's clear. Obviously, it's pretty easy to take lots of shots from outside of the box. And so shots doesn't necessarily show that you're having a fantastic crack at actual realistic goal chances. But it's still, we've had the space for 25 shots and only 6 of those have been on target. And we just need to get our shooting boots on.
I'm noticing the chances we're getting, we're not cutting teams open. So we're not sort of completely eviscerating teams by passing through midfield and transitioning quickly and getting up there. The chances we get seem to be either through hustle and strength. We're hustling, push past people, bully past people, got those strong people. Sometimes they're out wide and then getting a cross in. We're getting those scrambles where it's hitting the post and they all seem to have 4 or 5 people around there and we're not getting that second ball. Or, it's going up there and Samba or maybe Manayarella is getting the ball, just getting past a player and they're sort of on the edge of the box, a little bit out, and they have a shot and they're not getting in, they're hitting the bar, it's going slightly over, or the keeper's making good saves. So we're not getting really, really easy chances. It's not sort of a one-on-one with the keeper. It's not where we've completely taken out, with triangles, taken out the defenders, so it's just, a pass in. And that, that makes me think that maybe we're not, the chances we're getting, although we're having a lot of them, aren't quite as good as maybe they should be, as it looks like if you look at the sort of the domination of the passing and the possession we have. And I guess you put that down to maybe teams are sitting back against us, so we haven't got that, spaces to play in or to take them out, or maybe we're just not transitioning quickly enough from midfield to attack, except when we're pumping along balls up to Samba to fight off a couple of defenders and get a shot off, which she does pretty well. So that may be something that we could look at working on in terms of moving the ball more quickly through midfield, out wide, and then back in the centre, and just trying to outpass teams. Because at the moment we're trying to fight past them. Maybe we can try pass them.
I think there's on occasion as well when we have kind of hit the post or it's been scrambling in the box, and they've had their 5 players in there, but we're kind of stuck ball watching a little bit. I think we take the shot and we just stand and admire it, saying, "Oh, that was a kind of a good shot." And then there's no one there to kind of get that second. So, we're doing all this hustle in the midfield to win it. You have Brooke Nunn, who's absolute pest, kind of winning it off everyone. Minai Elliott almost got killed that game. Everyone was just coming in for her. So we're winning it, but we don't seem to be putting in that same effort in the box. It's kind of bouncing around. It's perhaps unfortunate to not kind of land at our feet and land at, their feet instead. But there's been quite a few chances in the last couple of games where there's been a bit of a scramble like that, and we just haven't been near it or even first to it or aware of what's happening. Kind of the same defensively as well. That's how we conceded that City goal. We kind of watched and said, oh, that's a ball across. Oh, that's a header across. Oh, it's a goal. Oh, no. So I'm not sure what's going on there, but hopefully, they kind of have a bit more urgency in the box and just try to gamble a little bit more, and just kind of expect that it's going to bounce to them or bounce funny or go through someone's league, because it's the A-League, anything can happen. I think gambling on it is probably what I want to see a little bit more, because those lucky bounces, those second chances seem to pop up quite a bit, and we just haven't been able to capitalize on any of them.
Yeah, it's hard to pick out anyone who played poorly, and I don't think they did. I think they all played reasonably well, unless you say, well, Samba didn't score, therefore she played poorly. But she had her chances. She was that outlet for the ball to get up there, and she probably doubled Perth attendance. So they're going to like her for that. Defensively, I think we're looking pretty good. As I say, we're not giving anyone any chances. I thought Lara Wall's just improving game on game. She's looking so good. I can't see her staying at the Phoenix much longer. She's got to go overseas. She's looking really impressive, which is great to see. But we make the most of it while we can. But yeah, maybe I think just play quicker out from the back, quicker through midfield. Yeah, and as you say, if we're getting balls out wide, and it's going to come in the box, then let's get people running in on the late balls near the top of the box. So if we come down to the second ball, maybe we can get a secondary shot off.
There did seem like there was a little bit of a lack of hustle every now and then. Yeah, those balls that were parried and whatnot. I think one of the things that stuck out to me was, obviously, you're dominating the game and there's a sense of like, the goal will come, we'll keep at it. And then we conceded this goal in the 75th minute. And then you've got to push from there. And you could see like a lot of players were pushing. But at one point, you could hear it on the effects mic, which is why I wrote it down. In the 82nd, we had a throw in, and someone says, and it might have been Ali Walker, because she was like the one with the ball and probably the closest to the effects mic, said, "Come on, get up. We want to win the game," which you shouldn't have to say when you're in the 82nd minute and you're 1-0 down and you've had so many chances, especially. There was like a bit of a lack of a hustle. And we'll talk about that in the men's game too, because I think part of the issue was being tired, but it was worse in the men's game. I mean, I'm glad that someone was stepping up and saying that on the pitch, because I was saying exactly the same thing in my, in my house, going like, why is everybody like walking? We have to go. We have to go. I don't feel like it was necessarily an effort thing for them. I think they just need to work on their shooting practice. And I think with conceding an Olympico is really unfortunate. And again, it is kind of, keepers in the women's league are a bit shorter, and they might not be able to jump as far. I still think Vic Essend's experienced enough that she probably should have covered that a little bit better. There was a question about whether one of the Perth players might have gotten her head to it, even though it was given as an Olympico. Either way, we can cover that. I will mention what we do have coming up. Next match is home at Porirua Park versus Sydney, Saturday the 20th, 4 p.m. New Zealand time kickoff. Thoughts about that game, or more thoughts about the Perth game?
I think Sydney will be a good test for us. Sitting, mid-table, couple of wins, couple of draws, and a loss. I feel like I haven't seen them play that much, so I can't really talk about who we need to look for. But Yeah, I think we can beat them. We're back at home. If we just play like we have been, but better up front, then we'll for sure have this game in the bag, I think.
Yeah, you've got to be confident that you can do that. I know we've been confident the last 2 weeks that we would win. So let's keep on banging that drum. I don't think we're playing badly. There are some tweaks maybe to be made. I'm pretty sure Bev Priestman sees that and she will push for that. I was really happy that I saw Samba play basically the full game because after the knee injury the week before, I really thought she was going to be out for a long time. So she looked fit enough to play in that sort of heat, so hopefully she'll be fit enough to play if it's a bit cooler in Wellington and have some good minutes in. As I say, a lot of people in form, and Aya Elliott's going to get a goal at some point. Let's just hope the tweaks will work, and maybe if we score early and Sydney then have to push on, that'll open a bit of space, and we'll look a little more clinical in terms of getting the ball up to the final third.
I mean, Sydney are class every season, even though, well, to be fair, they almost got the wooden spoon last season, but they can produce class and they do have a winning club mentality, I feel like, and they do have an excellent coach. We'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll chat about it when we get back next week. We'll move on to the men. So we had, I think this was versus Jets on Sunday at Sky Stadium. We had no James. He's been suspended. He should be back next week. No Hughes. So we at the back we had centre back controlling the defence was Lucas Kelly-Hild. On other sides of him there was Matt Sheridan and Jaden Smith. And then further out those wing backs were Schwan Loke and Armiento. So we were very bare at the back. In fact, Armiento is really the one with the most experience. After that, it would be Lucas Kelly-Hild, who did have a very, very good game, but very inexperienced, which showed, I think we had the issue where we actually were able to backtrack quite effectively in the first half, but that first half was very frantic. And then the second half, we weren't tracking back. And then we had this horrible period of 7 or 8 minutes where we conceded 3 goals, the first of which was in the 50th minute. Eli Adams, they had a 4v4 and our defence did not drop. Got a bit of a deflection, but really a good goal. 3rd minute, we had almost that, probably our best chance, one of our best chances of the games. Azza has the ball in the sort of corner of the penalty box and he beats Dalyanov, who comes out. So basically the goal is open with the exception of like a couple of retreating defenders for Jets. And Azza just scuffs the shot. It's so weak and it was very, very easy for it to be headed off the line. I honestly, if we had got that, maybe the game is a bit different. To make matters worse, immediately the ball goes down the other end and Lockie Rose, the ball comes over, bounces, Josh comes for it, doesn't actually get it, and Lockie Rose has just gotten and just tipped it over him, and he could have walked the ball in the net, basically. 57th minute, Clayton Taylor off a cutback from Wilmering. Clayton Taylor, a couple of seasons ago, came to Sky Stadium and cut us apart. I think he scored 2 goals or he set up. He's a very good player, and we've had just sort of horror attacks, or not, experiences with him being very good. We did get a little bit of hope in the 69th. Azza puts up a really, really tidy header from a cross from Ruakonchi. It's really hard to be moving backwards away from goal slightly, get up. There's not a lot of speed on the ball, and to create that looping header that just goes right in the top corner. It's a beautiful goal by Azza. But at the end of the day, a 3-1 loss, XG 1.49 to 3.38. Chief said after the thing, we switched off. It's as simple as that. Erin, would you like to start?
Yeah, I think their first half of football was quite back and forth, and it could kind of go either way. Both teams had chances, and yeah, going in at halftime at 0, I was like, oh, this game, is a tightrope. Anything could happen, and then yeah, we just kind of lost the plot for 7 minutes, and Jets, being Jets, the chaotic team they are, just capitalized on that. There was a lot of, I think the urgency to get to the ball on the back line. They kind of lost track of where they were relative to each other, kind of not really marking anyone or marking the same person. And it's definitely a sign that that back line is inexperienced and young, and probably haven't really played much together either, because, yeah, it was just too easy for Jets to score. I think, yeah, we needed at least, either Hughes or James there to probably help command that a little bit better, and I think that could have gone a different way. But yeah, they just ran through us, and I don't think from then on we kind of looked like we would come back in the game. I think we got that one goal from Eze, but other than that, I think that, I don't know, I think everyone else trying to drop their heads a little bit for that. But yeah, it was a good to see Corbin Piper starting. I think he's so close to being like the perfect footballer that we need. If he could just, finish his chances, or maybe, have that extra bit of a good touch, then he's like the perfect player. He's got the strength, he's got the speed, he's just kind of got that hustle. He had quite a few opportunities as well where he could have put us ahead early on, but just managed to put it wide or have it saved. But it's good to see him starting again, and I hope to see him stay healthy and fit for the whole season, because I think he adds something extra to the team that we need in terms of that intensity and to keep it going. Yeah, I think we struggled a lot with that young back line, and I hope that our injuries and we don't get more suspensions and we can kind of have a consistent team every week, because that would probably help us.
So, I mean, I think the mood coming out of this is pretty dark, which is fair enough. We've lost 3-1 to a team who aren't very good, realistically, in the big scheme of things, and we've let 3 goals in 7 minutes. But this game could have been entirely the opposite way around. We could have beaten them 3-1 quite easily. We had just as many chances, if not more than them, and we didn't put them away. So Eze had a couple, Piper's had a couple, Schwinn-Loke had one, Armiento had one. We didn't put them away. And then, we switched off at the back. They scored 3 goals. And then, even though we had a lot of hustle and bustle up front, and we had a few chances, and Brooks Smith looking good, and Eze got one back, and he had another chance, we just couldn't put them away. And as you say, I think with 20 minutes to go, most of their heads dropped, apart from maybe Brooks Smith, who was still running, and Piper and Eze, because they just never give up and stop. I'm probably still running through the changing room till they get there. So with the defence that we had, in terms of, we had Kelly Heald making his debut in that central position. We had a debutant in the left, Jaden Smith, and I've never seen him play on the left either. Even when he's had his few minutes he's played on the right. Schwinn-Loke, who's like on his 3rd or 4th game starting on the right, and Armiento isn't really a defender on the left. It was always going to be trouble, and it was. It ended up that way. But I wouldn't necessarily blame those young defenders. I thought they did well in the first half. I thought Smith did pretty well, considering his first game there. Schwinn-Loke probably didn't have his best game, to be fair. I think he's struggling with the stepping up and dropping back in terms of the timing there a little bit. I thought Kelly Heald was excellent. He just looks good. When he looks good, he looks great. Fortunately, when he doesn't look good, he looks absolutely fucking terrible. And that's just his nature. That's just the way it is. So, but he's getting far more right than he's getting wrong. And even when he got stuff wrong, he got the second ball. A number of times he sort of, maybe damaged a little bit or wasn't strong enough in the first tackle, and the player got away from it, and then he'd just turn around and the go-go gadget legs would come out and just reach around their player and knock it away. And it's just some amazing tackles that he did. He rarely, even when he made mistakes, he made up for them. And I think if he was strong in the first tackle, he could really put his body through it. I don't think he would even have those problems. I think he's got this potential to be a really, really good defender, as a really quality defender. Will he get there? We'll see. But there's potential there, and I think he was showing more of it again yesterday. When they're putting balls through, and we're playing so high up, and that's not just the high line, just everyone's pushed up, concentrating up there. So, at one point, Jaden Smith was taking the ball, way sort of past beyond the centre circle, and he was like our favourite player back. If they cut through quickly, there's a lot of space for them to run at. And our defenders were getting back in time, but when they're cutting the ball back, we need our midfielders, someone to be back there. They're cutting it back towards the penalty spot, to the top of the penalty box, and they would get there first. The Newcastle players were there first and putting the balls away, and our players weren't there. And so you've got to be looking at Rufo, you've got to be looking at Nagasawa, who are midfield to get back there, maybe Armiento, the 10s as well. But we were playing so far up the pitch that again, it's almost hard to blame them because they got a long way to run. But then the Newcastle players got there, so they should have got there. So I'm not really blaming our defence, that back three, if you like, that centre back three, the young ones, for a lot of that. Second goal was Oluwayemi. Okay, the last two games he showed us why he's such a good keeper. He's saved how many goals, one-on-one saves here and there, and then he just showed us his biggest weakness, which is the decision making coming out. And he didn't actually come for it. He was stood up the pitch in his sweeping role, and then he just didn't move. He froze, and he needed to come for it, and he didn't, and they scored. Yeah. Well, there you go. We've seen that before. That we've seen his strengths and we've seen his weaknesses. It doesn't seem to be changing. So we just got to decide. Okay, do we accept the fact that he'll save a couple of certain goals on saves, every game, but every other game he might well get us into trouble with a decision making like that. And I think his communication, it was Army Enter who was coming back as well. I think that's a problem there. I think maybe if that was James would have shouted at Oluwayemi to do something, or taken the choice there. I think Armiento and Oluwayemi, neither of them really knew who was taking responsibility. Turns out it was Ali Rose who took responsibility and scored their goal. It was obviously a very disappointing result, and defensively to let 3 goals in, you just, as a spectator, your heads drop. Never mind the players who were actually playing it there. But in terms of attacking football, that was probably some of the best attacking football we've seen this season. In fact, it almost certainly was the best attacking football we've seen this season. Some of the balls through the centre, coming from Kelly Heald and from Rufa and from Nagasawa up the centre, into Piper, into Eze, were some really nice football balls, which we haven't seen. Getting it on the end and then Piper turning and having a shot, or Eze taking the ball. It was some really good football. And when Brooke Smith came on, again, he was really lively, getting down there, getting to the byline, cutting across to the top of the D, where we didn't have players like Newcastle did when they did it. Again, something to look at there. So attacking-wise, it was exciting. It was enjoyable if you forgot, try and ignore the fact that we were down by 3 goals through our own fault. But yeah, in the end, we lost to a team we could have beaten and probably should have beaten, and that's not good enough, really. Because we keep doing it, we'll have 2 or 3 games where we'll really enjoy it and we'll beat some teams, but in the majority of them, we're going to lose and we'll end up, in the bottom 2 or 3. Sheavy's got some thinking to do in terms of how he sets a team up, not being helped by injuries, playing the style we do, which is unforgiving in defence with young, experienced defenders. You're on a hiding to nothing, I think, and you're hanging them out to dry a little bit. So we'll see what happens for the next game.
I guess the question is, like you say, well, you need some more flexibility, which is fair enough. But when you have like a particular way of playing, is it hard to then turn around and switch and go, well, this is how we play now. We play in a low block now, or something like that. I mean, in theory, all of the players should be able to play it. Obviously, they can't or can't yet. At which point do you say, okay, we've got X number of players with X number of experience. This is the day I go, nah. We don't play the usual way that I've been wanting everybody to play. We go to plan B or tactics B. That's kind of hard to make a decision because in a way, you're not showing faith in those players that you've been training for a long, long time. But on the other hand, there's reason to be frustrated at the lack of tactical flexibility at times, and it's just disappointing to be caught out so many times. So like how, if you were the coach, how are you making that decision of like, is it during the game? Like, is it after those? Well, then again, when you go behind, you need even more to be on playing attacking football. So at what point, like it's very easy to say as an armchair coach, but honestly, like at what point do you change that tactic?
I think we were a victim of that last year as well. We tried that whole season to kind of play out from the back, but we just didn't have the skill to do it, and we were getting caught every single time, especially, Oluwayemi wasn't that strong compared to Alex Paulson, who, was excellent at it. And it didn't work basically the whole season, and he stuck to it, and it didn't start working basically. And then when it got to the last couple of games, I think we kind of changed it up a bit, and he had a bit more freedom to kind of just go long. And it actually started to look a bit more exciting and better, but by then it was too late. We were already out of the top 6. And so Not sure if it's just a Chiefy thing that, he wants to stick with it and until it works. But yeah, hopefully he finds a way to make it work with the players that we have, because at the moment it's not quite working.
Yeah, I mean, you can only make a system work if you've got the players to play it, and that's not, casting shade on the players we've got. These are A-League players; they're not Premier League players. They all have their strengths and weaknesses, and even if you go, up the leagues or whatever, there are teams that can't play systems if they don't have the players for it. You've seen that. You've seen Forest sack Postecoglou because they didn't have the players to play the system we wanted to play. That's just the nature of the beast. And last season, Chiefy played the same style that we played the season before, which was low block, low quality chances, and then breaking quickly with a bit of quality and a bit of creativity going up the pitch. But we didn't have the players because we'd lost Benel, we'd lost Kraev, etc., etc. So it didn't work. He's changed it this season because everyone wanted him to change it, and he's been absolutely true to his word. He hasn't been defensive. He's been more exciting. We're more attacking. But the defensive part of it, difficult. And whether we have the players to be able to play that, or whether we have the players fit enough who are going to play week in, week out to actually make that system work is pretty debatable. Now, it doesn't mean you have to go, okay, well, we're not going to do the high line and that, the ultra attacking football we're doing now. We're going to go back to a low block. There's stuff in between. It's not one or the other. It's not totally binary. There are things you can do which will make you a little bit more solid in defence or make you less vulnerable in defence to the kind of goals we've been giving away without totally compromising your attacking effort as well. Now, I'm not a coach at all. I think it's fairly quite obvious to anyone who listens to this. But, there are ways to do that. There are tweaks to be had in terms of where players play and where they stand at certain times. Do they play 5 yards this way or 6 yards that way? Where does Rufus stand? How far does he go up to follow the play? How much does he stay back? There's a lot of things you can do. And I'm sure, look, Chief is a professional coach. I'm sure he's been doing this and thinking about this. He hasn't found that balance yet. The sad thing is with the A-League, it's only 27 games long. So you don't have the time to play around with it. We've all watched football. I follow teams in the UK. I think back to 2 seasons ago, our coach was Mark Hughes, the most experienced Premier League coach in history. He's coached more Premier League games than anybody else. He somehow became our manager in League Two, freakishly. It took him a long time to get that balance right. And you could see him tweaking it every week and then give it 2 or 3 games. And then, okay, it's a bit defensive. So he tweaked it again. Oh, that was better attacking, but then we leaked in defence. So he'd play around with it. But he had 50 games to do that because that's how many games he played in a season, and eventually he got it right. Chiefy doesn't have that luxury. He's got 27 games. Now he's got 20 games left to try and find that balance. And, he may not have that chance to do it. He may not get it right. I don't think any of us think we've got the best squad in terms of players in the league. If he gets the balance right, maybe we can hit finals, but it doesn't look like we're getting that balance yet. So there's definitely work to be done.
We are on we're on 8 points, so we're 9th of 12, but everybody else 9 through 12 is on 8 points. One of those is Central Coast Mariners, who have not been great this season. In fact, they've got to the point where they've got very worrying crowds as well. They didn't even break 2,000 in Gosford last game, and I think we maybe broke 3K. We were around 3K at Sky Stadium, which, to be honest, it wouldn't surprise me if we're about the same. A lot of teams struggling at the moment with their usual crowds. Again, I don't see why we can't beat Central Coast Mariners, but who knows? Who knows? Any thoughts on that one?
I think the last time we played them, we kind of dominated them, and if it wasn't for Redmayne, we would have kicked their asses. And so I think that we can still do that. And I think if we just get it right and get it right early, although we did score in the 4th minute that game as well, so we did kind of get it right early. But if we stick to the 90 minutes, then we should be able to get a win from the Central Coast Mariners. Aren't looking very good, and I think we definitely need a win. The fans need a win. The players need a win. I think everyone needs a win because, man, I'm exhausted.
Yeah, we need a win. And I think a lot will depend on the players' mentality. Are they as down as sort of we are after that result? Or do they go, well, we had our chances. If we put them away, we would have won that game. We were better than them. If they can be motivated, and not be down, then yeah, there's no reason why we shouldn't win. I've really enjoyed watching Eze play this season. I really enjoy watching Corbin Piper play. They're really good fun to watch. They work hard. Okay, their finishing could have been better in the last match, but they had the chances. They're just entertaining players to watch. So I'm actually enjoying that bit of it. And so you could just see them, as I say, destroying the Mariners. You can see Eze and Piper, and I thought they played really well together in that game in terms of their playing well together. I thought they did really well. They seemed to know where the other player was going to be. Eze sort of went a little bit wider. Piper was sort of in the centre. But their interactions were quite good. So if they can build on that, we could do to Central Coast what Newcastle did to us. We could knock 2 or 3 in really quickly and completely demoralise them. Of course, they could also score against us. So, it's up in the air, but I don't see why we shouldn't get a result.
It's interesting as well. You see a lot of negativity online about the results and what's happening, but the league is so close. It's ridiculously close at this point of time. If we get 3 points in the weekend, we can jump up to 5th. From, second to last to 5th. That's how close it is. And so I don't think it's all doom and gloom at this point in time. We've shown promise that we can score goals. If we just tidy up the back line a little bit, then, there's no reason why we can't make finals. We just have to, find that form soon. But yeah, it's super close. Anything can happen. It's the beauty of the A-League.
Well, that's that. Head up Porirua Park on Saturday and Sunday up Sky Stadium. Neither team is playing boring football, that is for sure, even if the results aren't quite going the way that we were hoping that they would. Thanks for joining us. Mā te wā.